Good afternoon. My name is Dawn Jones, news anchor at WJRT ABC 12 in the city of Flint. I'm your moderator for today for the film screening of Road to Restoration, Michigan. It's a micro documentary about the impact of fines and fees associated with driver's license suspension brought to light by the Michigan Department of State's successful Road to Restoration program. Now, today's event is being live streamed on the Michigan Department of State YouTube channel at youtube.com/Mich SOS office. That's /MICH SOS office. And we encourage our viewers to put any questions they may have in the chat. I want to begin today by thanking Luisa Dantas and Naima Torres of Jolu Productions for their dedication to this project and for sharing the story of these everyday Michiganders. As many of you here today know, Road to Restoration is a free clinic to assist the Michigan residents in understanding how to get their driving privileges restored. Residents who attend, they meet one-on-one with Michigan Department of State staff, and they talk with volunteer attorneys to determine the steps that are necessary to reinstate their driver's license. Now in its fourth year, the Road to Restoration program has hosted over 65 clinics all across the state of Michigan and has provided one-on-one assistance to over 10,000 Michiganders. This innovative program was created to help more than 150,000 people newly eligible to regain their driving privileges after changes to the state law in 2021. About 3,000 more Michiganders were made eligible to apply for a driver's license on April 2nd of this year under Public Act 42 of 2024. The new law repealed the state's 3-year ban on applying for license reinstatement for individuals who are cited for driving without a license. None of this could happen without partnerships. The clinics were coordinated in partnership with the Department of Attorney General, along with several nonprofit organizations and corporate partners including DTE Energy and the DTE Foundation, the Miller Canfield Law Firm, the Detroit office, the Detroit Justice Center, United Way of Michigan 211, and its local affiliates. Representatives from some of these are here today to serve on our panel discussion, which will follow the film. I'll be introducing them to you very shortly. Overall, Road to Restoration partners provided talented people and fiscal resources worth over $100,000 to support the clinics. Now that, I'd say, is the power of partnership at work. Of course, another pillar to the success of this program has been Michigan's own Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson herself, amid many other challenges, including the administration of some of the most contentious elections in Michigan history. Secretary Benson has remained a champion of this program, committed to its growth and its expansion as a resource for the people of Michigan. And with that, we are happy to share a short video Secretary Benson recorded just for this occasion.
Hi, I'm Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson. Welcome to a rough cut viewing of Road to Restoration, Michigan, a documentary about the impact of fines and fees associated with driver's license suspensions, brought to light by our successful Road to Restoration program. The Road to Restoration clinics are an opportunity to meet Michiganders where they are, provide information and a path forward, eliminating the hamster wheel of fines and fees, and hopefully providing an opportunity to regain driving privileges. The clinics have also helped us uncover policies that may need to be revised or eliminated, like the app denial law, which when reversed last year by the legislature, removed an unnecessary additional penalty and a 3-year wait to apply for a driver's license. We've hosted more than 60 clinics over the past 3 years and met over 10,000 Michiganders in conjunction with community partners, attorneys, and court staff. and we're scheduled to host another 34 clinics this year alone. Michigan is a driving state, and having a valid license is critical for our folks to live, work, and enjoy our state. And as the video will show, this program isn't a handout. Our citizens do the hard work. We are here to help, encourage, and support where we can. I want to thank Louisa Dantas and Namia Torres of Jolu Productions for telling the story of these everyday Michiganders. Enjoy the presentation.
And we are grateful for those words from Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, and they serve as a perfect lead-in for today's documentary presentation. In cities and towns all across the U.S. where public transit is limited and driving is essential, a single unpaid driving ticket can spiral into a suspended license, court debt, and even incarceration. This film shares the voices of individuals in the Detroit area whose lives were derailed by these fines and fees, while spotlighting local efforts led by lawyers and judges, community advocates, and private businesses, all working together to restore not just driver's license, but dignity and freedom. This video is a part of Find Out. It's a multimedia project that exposes how unjust fines and fees punish poverty and raise revenue, and how communities are fighting back against a system designed to keep them paying. So let's now enjoy this advanced screening of Road to Restoration, Michigan.
I get my grandkids from school. They got a football game, they got a dentist appointment. But I go freely knowing that I can drive everywhere.
I can drive to work, take my kids to where they need to go. I can drive out of town without no worries. You never realize what you have until it's snatched away from you. I started driving when I was 16, and I caught the ticket because my mom had asked me to drive because she wasn't feeling well. I just didn't pay the ticket, didn't have a job.
Oh, it's just painful just thinking about it. Single mom, I had 3 young boys. We were all in a car, had an accident, and I didn't have car insurance. I couldn't afford it. That was the worst day because after that, then they wanted to take my license.
The Metro Detroit area, unfortunately, has a great deal of limitations when it comes to public transportation options. And so the way for people to get around is to have a license. And for years and years, we've created really a body of individuals that have remained in this unlicensed, suspended state. There are all these assumptions that are made about people who get pulled over for driving with a license suspended. And the court system, unfortunately, has fostered those inaccuracies. Because I would have people that would come into my courtroom with no other criminal record. So no assaultive behavior, no theft-related behavior, and even when you took a look at their driving record, yes, they were suspended, but it wasn't for drunk driving or reckless driving. It was based on unpaid tickets. So if you didn't have a license and you decided to drive and then started to fall behind, you would have massive amount of debts. We're talking about thousands of dollars that you would have to pay to get these suspensions cleared.
I was paying $50 a month, and that was a lot being on welfare. So then I started paying $20 a month. It was like 35 years I went through this.
Well, it's been a journey, but I did have a warrant for a traffic ticket, so I was arrested. So when I went to court, the first thing they asked me, do I have any money? I told them no. I informed him that I was currently a student and I had a job and a grandchild. He said he didn't care, and they sentenced me to 10 days in jail. I'm not a criminal.
So I had a situation where I was in Howell, Michigan, where I caught a driving on suspended license. I paid for the ticket, I seen the judge, and they kept me for 45 days. Going through these different systems is almost like torture. They don't care about you. But everybody doesn't have the money to fight these type of things.
This is what we call the traffic enforcement to jail pipeline, where because you can't pay your fines and fees, you now have had a suspended license, and then if you are pulled over, you are in grave danger of being incarcerated. And we know statistics show that 1 day of incarceration, you can lose your job, you can lose your kids, like it's a really dire situation.
You know, there were a number of courts that would do this pay or stay type of issue where people would come in and be told, all right, well, pay $900 or do 90 days. And I said, we're not gonna be part of the problem here. We're gonna get an understanding of why people are unlicensed.
Let's stop blaming the people who are being victimized by the system. Let's fix the system. The first thing you need to start with is a conversation. How can we solve this problem? And that's where we started. Just some like-minded group of like 15 misfits is what we call ourselves, got together and started talking. It wasn't about pointing fingers. It was like, where can we find a solution?
We are here for our Road to Restoration clinic. It's a clinic designed to help our residents understand, to get their driver's licenses restored. But once they come in, they're greeted by our staff at the Secretary of State's office. We let them know the process. Then they get their driving record. Then they go sit with either a member of our staff or a volunteer attorney to go over their driving record and answer the questions about what their steps are to get their license restored.
Okay, so step one, you have to pay the fines. That includes the clearance fee, right?
I've been without a license since 2019, so almost 5 years. Living in a motor city and not having a motor vehicle sucks. My cousin told me about the program. I hooked up with one of the attorneys. We got my driving record. We went through it, citation by citation, ticket by ticket. They helped me a lot with the grants. So everything got paid, all my fines and fees. I went and did my written test. I got my permit. I just gotta take my road test tomorrow and I have my license.
The benefit of these clinics is that you have the opportunity to expedite that process. You have all the actors here, the court officials, you have the Secretary of State. There is no threat of anyone being arrested.
The importance is leadership from the state, from the courts, from the legal profession, any private employers that want to have employees, but also community organizations. So when you have all of those people come together, they all have a piece of knowledge that will contribute to the solution, because we know this is a multi-system problem.
In addition to the Road to Restoration Clinic, we have Operation Drive program.
You could clearly be on the road, taking care of your business, driving appropriately. You could be doing all these things. So it's time. He's got to take care of a Detroit ticket.
Operation Drive is a program that's designed to take individuals who have traffic misdemeanors that come through our court and get them to a place where they have a valid license to try to really get to the root core of the issue that's causing them to come into the court system. So many times people would come in this court wanting to get a license but having no idea where to start, what to do, how to get it done. So we had to give them information. And then we had to give them structure and say, hey, no, if you show up here, we're going to give you the support you need. We're going to give you the information that you need, but we're also going to need you to take care of certain things along the way. But the last and most important piece, though, was encouragement, making a person feel like a person rather than a file or a villain or like an actual human being.
I knew it was just a matter of some paperwork, that someone that had some education knew what they can do. And they looked it up and checked it out, and they said, yeah, you're right. This is something we can clear up for you. It took something off of my life that would have me held down like if I was a prisoner or something. I've been making tamales for about 45, 50 years, and I bring food for all the people here. I go freely knowing that I can drive everywhere and with no problems.
I went to a Road to Restoration clinic where I met Rabina. When I introduced what I had to her, she said, you know, this is very fixable. I'd never seen it being fixable. It was just so much. I actually did it. Still to this day, I cannot believe it. You are too? You very proud of you? It just feels better driving, like to not worry where I'm at or will I be pulled over. It's just an awesome feeling.
We're now at 1,700 licenses restored. Those are individuals who walked into this courtroom without a valid license, with a suspended license, with a revoked license, and now are legally back on the road. Businesses win because now they have employees that can get back and forth.
This project is such a win-win for everyone involved, for the attorneys, for the nonprofits, for the corporates, for the governmental agencies, for our community.
They have a bell that they actually ring to celebrate when someone has done everything they need to get their license. And so the most palpable thing is that a collective sigh that someone can now breathe easily.
I'm so happy. It's a weight lifted off my shoulders. I'm a father now. Having a license is really important. I'm happy to have my license back.
Thank you. This is just an issue that transcends race, culture, gender, age. It really affects any and everyone. We would love to see road to restoration clinics in every major city and even in rural areas as well. We're really excited. Next year, we're going to kick off in Texas, some spots in DC, where we'll be able to train folks in that area on how we're doing this work.
I think the lesson from all of this is that judges, prosecutors, defense attorneys, you're on the front lines. You know your community. You know what your community needs. In our community, we needed to provide assistance for individuals who were unlicensed and get them back on the road. And you can either sit on your hands and just hope it gets better, or you can decide to be part of the solution.
So very nicely done. I want to thank that production company for that wonderful documentary highlighting that there are so many reasons why Michiganders lose their driving privileges, and it shows just how it impacts a person's life. A grandmother just wanting to pick her grandchildren up from school, people who want to get back and forth to work and just go about their daily lives. We had firsthand accounts, testimonials of the many fines and fees and the hoops that they had to navigate before they encountered road to restoration clinics that helped them get back on track. It's a genuine glimpse into the impact of the clean slate laws and the Road to Restoration program as a tool to navigate returning safely behind the wheel for thousands of Michigan drivers. That moves us now into the next part of our event today, which is the panel discussion on the documentary and the Road to Restoration program. So let's meet today's panelists, and we begin this afternoon with Rubina Mustafa. Before becoming senior staff attorney with the Detroit Justice Center, Rubina worked with the Michigan Children's Law Center as a lawyer and guardian ad litem at the Wayne County Juvenile Court. She represents children in all court proceedings, and she advocates for children's needs in education and out-of-home placements. Ms. Mustafa has 24 years of legal experience practicing appellate law, criminal law, constitutional law, family law, juvenile law, and employment law. She has also served on the state and executive boards of the Women's Lawyers Association of Michigan and as president of the association's Wayne region, as chair of the Grosse Isle Community Recreation Commission, and as an at-large member of the State Board of the ACLU of Michigan. Welcome, Rubina. Our next panelist this afternoon is Joanne Chavez. Ms. Chavez recently retired from her position as Senior Vice President and Chief Legal Officer for DTE Energy. In that role, Chavez held responsibility for the management and strategic direction of DTE's Office of the General Counsel and advised DTE's Board of Directors and senior management on legal and related matters and other duties. Chavez earned a Bachelor of Business Administration and a Juris Doctorate from the University of Notre Dame. She is a strong advocate for young people and is the founder of the Michigan Hispanic Collaborative. It's a Michigan nonprofit that focuses on economic equity and provides opportunities for first-generation Hispanic students to graduate from college. Welcome, Joanne. Next, we are joined by Raheem Mercier. Raheem has gone through the Road to Restoration program and can give us a firsthand view of what the help provided at these clinics can mean to everyday residents of our state. He has been a production supervisor in the manufacturing industry for 6 years, overseeing day-to-day operations, also ensuring that production schedules are met efficiently. He likes to say that he is a hardworking man who likes to instill good values in his children, compassion, kindness, and gratitude. Raheem is an active member of New Providence Baptist Church, where he has devoted time to his community by helping with food and clothing drives. Welcome, Raheem. And finally, we are fortunate to have with us this afternoon Ben Ruby. He joins us today. Ben currently serves as the court administrator for the 60th District Court in Muskegon County and has volunteered his legal expertise at Road to Restoration clinics. This is his third appointment to the court administrator post, having also served in Dearborn and Hamtramck. Prior to his appointment as court administrator, Ben also served as a volunteer attorney in the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. A member in good standing of the State Bar of Michigan, Ben received his bachelor's degree from the James Madison College at Michigan State University, and he earned his Juris Doctorate from Indiana University's Maurer School of Law. Welcome, Ben. I'm so glad to have all of these key stakeholders in this Road to Restoration program here today to discuss the life-changing difference it is making for people all across our state. Rubina, Joanne, Raheem, and Ben, thank you again for your time this afternoon. We're going to begin our panel discussion very simply, just by asking all of you to share your thoughts on the documentary we just watched. And Rubina, welcome. We'd like to start with you.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you so much. And welcome everyone to who's watching on YouTube and to my fellow panelists and friends. You know, what strikes me is what has always struck me about the work is that, you know, people who are struggling to do just everyday things, people we all know and relate to, are hampered by poverty and barriers. And one of the key other themes I saw was like not knowing where to turn for help or not knowing, having that guidance. And I'm proud to be part of this project that not only recognizes their humanity and their basic needs, but also is that light, is that guidance for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Rubina. And Joanne, if you would follow and just tell us your thoughts on the documentary we all just watched.
I think it's remarkable, and thank you for having me today. I really want to reiterate that as you've seen evidenced in the documentary, these are great people who made modest mistakes. And when I say modest, I really mean we likely have all made the mistakes, but we all have the means to pay our fines. And I think that's where this really resonates. These are good people But the obstacle it creates, the employment obstacle, the societal obstacle, is really critical. And I think that's what you're seeing when you see just two examples of the people that are impacted by, these immaterial issues, but the lack of dollars. And that's really what I want to highlight. We have to remember these are our fellow humans, and they are fellow employees, they're our neighbors, they're our coworkers. And it's really important that we highlight that.
Thank you, Joanne. And Raheem, share your thoughts on the documentary we just witnessed.
Good afternoon, and thanks for having me. I really enjoyed making the video, and just being a part of Road to Restoration just kind of set a whole new light on things. And I just encourage anybody out there that needs help to just reach out. Very easy to do.
Thank you, Raheem. And you know firsthand you've been impacted by this. Ben, can you share your thoughts on the documentary we just watched?
Yeah, thank you first for having me. It's a great opportunity to talk about this stuff. And I would co-sign on everything that the other panelists have already said. I think the other important thing to note here is, the chance that this sheds some additional light and brings some additional publicity to this issue. I think that the folks on the panel here, these are things that we've been aware of because we deal with it on a day-to-day basis. But if you're not involved in the system, and if this is not an issue that you are encountering or somebody that you love is encountering, I think the majority of folks don't even know that this is going on. And that added publicity and opportunity to take a look at what we're doing and how we're handling these types of things, I think there's a great benefit that is going to come out of this on account of that.
Thank you, Ben. And our next question for our panelists this afternoon, could each of you talk just a little bit about your experience with the Road to Restoration program and what you see as its benefits for Michigan? And we'll begin this question with Joanne.
Thank you. I think it has immense benefits. I didn't realize the complexity until I volunteered. Being a seasoned attorney with over 35 years of experience, you think you can navigate any complex situation. But thankfully that Rubina and Wendy Richards at Miller Canfield and others really boiled it down and trained us so that we could make it simple and enabled us to help those who came there to help themselves, I think was my experience. I think what we don't often realize is that this is not just a barrier to driving, but because we are a driving state, it is a barrier to employment. And that's what you realize as you sit in this room with all these amazing people, the volunteers, the government people. I think the one thing to remember that I really liked about it is that we ensured that the locations where we host these events don't disengage the people that really need it. So we've done it in all kinds of community places. You would never know that an attorney general volunteer lawyer is sitting in the room. You wouldn't know that I was the chief legal officer. You don't know who anyone is. We are all just there together to help the citizens of Michigan in a time when we need everyone gainfully employed. And I think this being one of the largest obstacles that we see at DTE, it's really one of the reasons that we decided it was important that we partner with all of these amazing organizations and our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. And you spoke to making these clinics accessible. And that's when you go into these places and meet people where they are, making it accessible so they can get the resources that they need to have their driver's license restored. Raheem, would you like to share your experience with the Road to Restoration program and what you see as its benefits for the state of Michigan?
Just being able to drive without worry. Something as simple as taking your children to the park, not missing work, things of that nature. It's a great great system. I saw no end to my situation, so I'm just very glad that I used the system.
Thank you, Raheem. It sounds like it's life-changing. Ben, can you share your experience with Road to Restoration and what you see as the benefits for the state of Michigan?
Absolutely. So I've had an opportunity to participate in a handful of these clinics at this point, both as a volunteer attorney and then also as a representative from the court organization that I was employed by. And what I think is one of the biggest benefits that these clinics provide is really filling a gap that exists. From the court side of things, we are able to explain processes. We're able to give kind of general information about how individuals can address these types of challenges and issues, but we're strictly prohibited from providing any kind of legal advice. And as Joanne mentioned in her response, you're talking about an attorney that's been in the business for 35 years and is still saying, hey, this is a confusing, challenging situation to navigate. And so from the court's perspective, we're dealing with people on a regular basis who we can give information on process, but we can't advise. And so having these kind of clinics available where you've got seasoned lawyers who are available in order to work through this stuff with the clinic participants, I think is critical. I think there needs to be more of that. There's a limit to how much legal aid is able to do. They've got resource constraints just like everybody else here. And so having more of these opportunities where folks can go and get the help and have the guidance, I think is really one of the key benefits that we see here.
Thank you, Ben. And Rubina, please share your experience with the Road to Restoration program and what you see as its benefits for Michigan.
Thank you. I could actually, and people have heard me speak for hours, so I'm going to try to be concise. But I want to say that I am very grateful for both Joanne and Ben for being volunteers. Our volunteer attorneys take this very seriously and are so compassionate and deeply committed to helping the individuals that come to the clinic. What I have to say about how Road to Restoration benefits not only the individuals, but Michigan as a whole, is that first of all, is what we're doing is we're treating every individual with dignity and humanity. And it's a team effort. I often am working with the amazing Secretary of State staff who's there with me to kind of solve these problems, because sometimes the answer isn't obvious. Joanne was correct. These are complicated situations for individuals, and without an answer, like, for example, prior to the laws changing, as well as prior to the clinics, people would go to the Secretary of State, and the Secretary of State's office would say, well, these are the cases that are suspending your license. And then they go to the courts that are assigned to those cases, and the courts would tell them one thing. So it was just bouncing around. I call it a kind of a game of whack-a-mole. But what we try to do at the clinics, at least for court-based debt and suspension, is say, hey, this is your whole universe of what's going on. This is what led to, and even showing them their driving history, it gives them an explanation. Sometimes just getting that explanation of how this came about is a relief, just to know, okay, how can I fix this? Like, how did this problem come about and how can I fix this? As Raheem said in the documentary, he couldn't tell if it was fixable. It was when I was able to spell it out for him. I think he was still he was skeptical when I first met. But when I pointed it out to him, I did show him, like, we're going to go here first, then we're going to go here, and then we're going to have this strategy. And it did take some time, but we followed a step-by-step process. And that's what happens for each client of the clinic, is they're told what steps to take. What we don't, I know we're focused on fines and fees, but what we learned at the clinics was that also for people who have revoked licenses and have to go through the administrative process, which is not through the courts, that's also has its own hurdles. So what we're learning from the clinics, we're learning from the people of the state of Michigan, is that we need to be listening, that we need to pay attention to what is standing in their way. And that benefits everybody. Dawn, I don't mean to step on your moderator role here, but I would ask Raheem to probably elucidate, because he shared with me how this impacted not only him, but his family and even other members of the community that he's observed experience this.
Rabina, that's perfect. It transitions right into my next question. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. And Raheem, just to piggyback there on Rubina, you can talk about how it impacted you personally, you and your family. And then at the conclusion of that, share what would be your message to anyone in a situation similar to what you were in prior to the Road to Restoration program. Raheem?
It was a heavy impact on my family. Going away for that long, away from my children, was just not a healthy thing for them. It's the Road to Restoration is a magnificent program. I am overzealous about the whole thing. And like Rubina said, I never saw the end of the situation. Just being scared to drive to work, kids, and like I spoke on, taking the kids to the park, sporting events, recitals, I couldn't do any of those things. As far as the Road to Restoration and what I would share with any and everybody, just don't be afraid. Just reach out. And
It appears that we're having some technical difficulties there with Raheem, but what he did say, the message he would share to anyone who finds themselves in this situation is don't be afraid to reach out to Road to Restoration, to the program and the clinics, and because what he thought was a situation that was not fixable, he found that it was indeed fixable, and he shared how it has changed his life. Thank you so much, Raheem. We're going to move on to Joanne. And Joanne, why do you think this public-private partnership has worked so well in this effort?
As I stated in the video, it's a win-win. We didn't realize what was happening to potential employees until we started doing some of our tree trimming work in the community. And we found out that a number of people were ineligible to even be gainfully employed with us because they didn't have a valid driver's license. So then after we chatted with Secretary Benson's office, and then we also started sitting down with her team, we realized that it wasn't that difficult of a fix for us. We still need a number of employees to join DTE, and I know that we are not alone as an employer. But what we didn't realize was that if we just started sending in our volunteers, not just myself, but many people from the company, as well as many of my attorneys, and as well as getting our foundation engaged so that maybe we could donate to grants and donate grants for fines and some of the interest. You didn't realize any of this, that it wasn't an immovable barrier. It was simply a barrier that we all had to work on together. And it does, as Rubina and Ben and others have, and Secretary Benson has stated, I mean, we have all worked side by side. I know that we have teams of people that continue to work side by side to communicate this, to ensure that people are aware of these clinics, but more critically for DTE, so that we can help be a part of the solution and we can bring people to get really meaningful careers and jobs with us. But you never know this until you start listening. And that's, I think, probably the underlying theme here is that employers have to listen. People do want to work. but sometimes there are barriers that to them, and probably to me, if I had met them before I got trained, would have thought, I'm not sure how we're going to navigate the 4 different courts, right? Because it's not just going to the city of Detroit. It's not just going to the Secretary of State. It's not just going to the 44th District. It's likely going to many different courts. And that structure is so complex that absent all of these people working together to tear down the walls, to listen to the new challenges, I'm not sure any of us would be successful. So my hope is that this continues. This does not end because we simplified the laws. We have to continue to educate potential employees. And I think that's what one of the most important things is. And I am extremely grateful for this partnership with everyone.
Road to Restoration, definitely an example of the power of public and private partnerships at work. Ben, what are some of the positive outcomes you would say that you've observed through this Road to Restoration initiative?
Yeah, so on the personal level, it's been the opportunity both at the clinics and then some of the follow-up that's taking place at the courts that I've worked at. Getting to see somebody work through the process, see the relief once they are getting a resolution on, the tickets that are holding up their license, and then ultimately the relief and the pride of finally having their driving privileges restored. Is deeply gratifying for me to be able to participate and play, a little role in that. Because as was mentioned in the documentary, these folks are not the ones that we need to be worried about from a criminal justice standpoint. That's not to say that there shouldn't be accountability, but these people aren't stealing. They're not hurting other people for the most part, right? So this is not the direction, in my view, that our resources are best spent from a criminal justice or a court standpoint. And kind of following that logic, the professional side for me, this provides us an opportunity to close out a whole bunch of stuff that really I don't want hanging around anymore on our books or on our case management system. Allows us to direct resources and efforts more towards the types of issues that we should be focused on, issues and offenses and crimes that do have the impact of hurting other people. That's the area that we should be focused on, not whether or not somebody can pay a fine or a cost from a traffic ticket from 15 or 20 years ago that's got them jammed up with a suspended license. So personal level, getting an opportunity to see people and the excitement and the pride and the relief, getting their privileges restored. And then, like I said, on the professional side, being able to focus more of our efforts on stuff that we really should be paying attention to and less on some of the lower level type offenses like this.
Thank you, Ben. I think Joanne summed it up well when she said a win-win for all involved. Rubina, you have had the privilege of being a part of this program since its inception, since the very beginning. Tell us a little bit about that journey and then where you feel there's still some room where progress can be made.
Certainly. I have to say, it's the best project I've ever worked on. I've worked on a lot of stuff over my years as an attorney. This is the best project because everyone comes to the table. As Joanne said, yes, that win-win, but like her organization coming to the table, like with the enthusiasm. Jennifer Lawson, who was her employee and was just this amazing person. I have to say, Keela Crane, who's the legal director at the Michigan Department of State. I have to say this was her vision. And she brought us all together. And she's an amazing leader who knew how to reach out to people and bring them together and get things done and make sure it got done. It's that commitment, that's what kept motivating us. Yes, we still see problems. Yes, there are challenges, but there's this commitment to justice. There's this commitment to the people of Michigan that is so true of this program. Also, where I see where change could happen. I mean, like I said, we do see all the challenges that people have, but as we've discussed here in this panel discussion, I mean, we could make it easier for people by one issue that's very important to me, that I always advocate for, is that there should be a mandatory ability to pay question before judges, before they impose anything. They should say, hey, are you on food stamps? Instead of, like the example that Judge Meineke gave in the documentary, instead of saying, do you have money or how much money can I extract from you? They should say, how can I help you get back on the road and driving and employment, like Joanne said, getting those opportunities? How can I help my citizen not be in poverty? That should be the first question. There are certainly fees that are not necessary in my opinion, but I'll save that for another day. But the other thing is that driver education. We eliminated state funding for driver education in 2004. Why? I don't know how much it costs per child today. I did pay for my children's driver's education privately, but I could. And there's so many, it's disproportionately impacting poor communities, but just not just people who are on public assistance, but everyday people who are living paycheck to paycheck. I have seen that be a definite source for people because they don't have the driver's education, so they don't have a license. And then young people, either they're making bad decisions or out of desperation, they're driving and getting into trouble with the law. Why would we set up our young people like that? The other thing is that we have to look at poverty rates. 21 statistics said the city with the highest poverty rate in the country was Detroit, Michigan. So what are we doing? What solutions are we coming to help the whole community, help the children? As Raheem said, he was in jail for 45 days. That's a huge impact on his family. That's a whole month that they didn't have his salary. And even the reason he got the ticket, I'm sorry, I'm kind of highlighting your situation, Raheem, but you have a great story. He was helping his mom as a kid. And that got him into trouble for years and years until we came along. That shouldn't happen. We need to meet the needs of the community. We need to meet the needs of family. And we need to be realistic about what we can do. As Ben so adequately and articulately said, we aren't dealing with people who are criminals. Our court system, our criminal justice system should focus on people who present a danger to the community. These are people who we put barriers in front of. So what can we do to be part of the solution? And I am so glad we are, as Ben said, bringing attention to this issue because many of us who have means don't have to face this issue. Thank you.
Well, Rabina, so very well said. Thank you so much. And I just want to mention, I took driver's ed in high school, 10th grade, as a part of a requirement, driver's education, but I too had to pay for my children when they started to drive and to gain access to their driver's license. So I understand totally what you meant by why would we take that out of the school system. People are watching. We want to say hello to our YouTube audience. And Coco Edwards, she wrote that Road to Restoration is a game changer. It's a one-stop shop for all of the resources to improve one's quality of life. That's from Coco Edwards. She's online watching today's presentation. We're going to call for questions here from anyone who's online watching. If you have a question of any of these panelists, if you have a comment that you would like for us to share in this space, please type it into the chat. Someone will get it to me. And while we're doing that and waiting for that, I just want to remind you when the next Road to Restoration Clinic is, in case you need to get your pen and paper out so you can take some notes here. The next Road to Restoration Clinic is coming up quickly. It is tomorrow. It is at Laced Senior and Youth Center. It's in Detroit, 7150 Werner Highway. Now, you have to register for these clinics, but time, of course, is up for registration for this clinic for tomorrow. So if you did not register ahead of time, you can still attend tomorrow's Road to Restoration Clinic in Detroit during the walk-in period. That period is from 11 a.m. until 4 p.m., space permitting. So if you know someone, if you yourself, if you're watching or you know someone who may not be watching but who could use this resource, please share the information that the next Road to Restoration Clinic is tomorrow in Detroit, and they're taking walk-ins from 11 a.m. until 4 p.m., space permitting. Also, as we're waiting for any questions, I'd ask you to visit michigan.gov/R2R. That's michigan.gov/R2R if you'd like more information about the Road to Restoration program and the clinics. Any of our panelists, would you like to offer any other thoughts while we are waiting for any of the viewers who may be online to provide a question or two?
I do definitely want to make space for questions, but if people want to know how they can assist, definitely keep it aware of the clinics that are coming. We love volunteers. They are the secret sauce of our project, and they make such a difference at the clinic. So I put a little plug for volunteers, but also, ways, just be aware in your community and be talking to a lot of this is on the local level. So if you are in communication with your local government, talk to them about, maybe we can save our local resources and not pull over so many people. There was Accountability for Dearborn. It's a community organization that did do that in Dearborn and brought it to the attention of their city council of concerns they had about how people were targeted for driving offenses. You don't have to do a project that is that much, but just be informed of what's going on in your community, and let's be there for one another.
Thank you so much. We do have one question. Someone wants to know, how long does a typical visit to the clinic take? So how much time out of their day should someone expect to spend there at a clinic?
I'll answer this question. I would say they should, especially if they're in Southeast Michigan, should definitely expect to spend either the whole morning or the whole afternoon. Because we do have, when they're going through the clinic, we try to go as fast as possible, but we're very, very busy. So they will be waiting. But they do get information about what's on their driving history. There are some individuals who've never had a license. They're like, how do I have a driving record if I've never had a license? You have a driving record. And so they'll go over that. The Secretary of State staff, they call it triage, will go over that with them. And sometimes it answers their questions. Other times, we also have classes now for individuals who want to understand the basics of the administrative hearing process. And then, of course, we have the volunteer attorneys who literally, for that individual, write out an action plan for the next steps. So, and if an individual, as like both Joanne and Ben mentioned, if they have multiple courts, we have to go, get information from all of those courts. If they only have, it depends on the kind of information they have.
So, and we don't like to rush people along. We want to give them the attention they deserve. So I would say if you're coming to a clinic in Southeast Michigan, definitely plan to take a half a day to be there. We'll be very happy that you're there. We'll move you along very efficiently, but it will be a lot of information you leave with.
Thank you so much. We have another question that came in. When we watched the documentary, we learned that there's a ringing of the bell when someone successfully has their driving privileges restored. So this question, the person wants to know, can you talk more about the ringing of the bell at the clinics?
It's an amazing feeling, a sigh of relief. I can't even put into words. When I went in, I seen people ringing the bell, and I told my wife, I'm going to get that bell.
Yeah, so and ringing of the bell for you, Raheem, signifies what?
A new start. A new start, just like I said, just a sigh of relief. Just thankful, just very thankful. Just behind everything is behind me. Like Rabina was saying about the time, don't be discouraged with the time. It's instant results as soon as you get there. As soon as they start working with you, it's instant results. You can see everything happening as you are there, as soon as they get started with you.
Yeah, so the power of Road to Restoration. Thank you, Raheem. Glad to have you back here on the panel. Before we wrap up, we are approaching the 1 hour mark. And before we wrap up, we'd like to ask our panelists if they have just any final short thoughts that they would like to share before our event ends this afternoon.
I would like to just remind everyone, get the word out. It is on the R2R website at DTE. We put it out on Nextdoor. It's on the Michigan Department of Services on their Facebook page. We put it out on local media, so most people put it out, but get the word out. This is such a valuable resource, and I can't speak highly enough about it. And I want to make sure that we're getting out. And then I want to reiterate to Rabina, to my fellow lawyers, to our fellow colleagues, get out and volunteer. It is, I think Ben said it best, it's personally gratifying and it's great for, the community. So please, please get out and consider volunteering. And you don't have to be an attorney to volunteer. There are other non-attorney roles that you can help with while there. It's a huge undertaking, and thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Joanne. Anyone would like to add to that and share any final thoughts this afternoon?
Yeah, the publicity side of it and making sure that this is, out there for folks, I think is critical, like Joanne said. The other thing that I would encourage folks who maybe are themselves suspended, or, looking at a big stack of tickets that they got to deal with. This is a really, really great first step for dealing with this stuff in an environment that is considerably lower stress and, lower impact than showing up at a court building where you got to worry about whether or not you're going home. So a really tremendous opportunity and environment for making that first step. If you're an individual who has been dealing with suspension and dealing with tickets for years and years and years, is a great way to get started getting that rectified. And then on the other side, as far as the people that are helping out, I'd encourage anyone either that is associated with court work or lawyers or other volunteers who want to get involved, please, please, please do so. It is really an uplifting experience. And at least at the handful of clinics that I have participated in, you always eat well at them too, which is just kind of a nice little ancillary benefit. So please get involved. It's a really, really, really exceptional program. Thank you.
Food is always a great draw. Thank you. Thank you, Ben. Anyone else would like to add anything before we wrap up?
I I'm just going to quickly say, thank you again to the panelists and to the audience that's watching for being engaged. I also want to reiterate a thank you to Luisa Dantas and Naima Torres from Jolu Productions, as well as the Find Out team. You can find out more about Find Out, which is FINEDOT.com, at their website. You can watch the film again there. And learn more. This is part of a national movement. We are trying to create this conversation. There are about 7 million Americans impacted by these issues. We're all in this together. And I'm so grateful for the volunteers that work with me, all the people, all my team. And just thank you for the time you took to watch this webinar.
Thank you so much. I have a final note. I'd like to add that I want to remind the audience that's watching that it is not an expungement clinic. And the team at Road to Restoration of volunteers, they can guide you through the steps needed to regain your driving privileges. And Rubina, would you just like to add something to that to explain further that to separate the expungement clinic from Road to Restoration? They are not one and the same.
That is correct. So expungement laws in Michigan for Michigan offenses is to take off your public record your crimes. Driving records are not public records. They are private records. So there is no expungement of your driving record. However, the driving record, while complicated, does tell us a story of how a person got to the point of what sanction they have. There are different types of sanctions that I could go on for hours, but really the guide that we have, the point of the clinic is for you to understand your driving history. If you've been told you're suspended, at the Road to Restoration Clinic, you'll find out why you were suspended or when you were most recently suspended. If your license is revoked, you'll find out why you were revoked and when you're eligible to appeal that revocation. So really, the reason we say it's not an expungement clinic is because people think because of the great new reforms in expungement laws that somehow the sanctions they received from the driving offenses will go away if they're expunged. And that's not the case because your driving record is a completely separate record from your criminal history. So just so people know, now the expungement laws are great and they're helpful to people, but they are not related to the driving history. So just hopefully that makes it clear.
Thanks so much, Rubina. That's about all the time we have for today. And we just want to take this opportunity to thank all of our participants, from the valued program partners to the staff, the volunteers who helped coordinate this event, and of course, all of you who attended today's event. If you would like more information about the Road to Restoration program, you can always visit michigan.gov/R2R. Again, that's michigan.gov/R2R.